Don't you just love it when you go to your local grocery store and the shopping cart locks for absolutely no reason? Like you're not even anywhere near the boundary, but the cart just decides to like start locking up on you. I've never even fully understood the idea of locking shopping carts. What am I going to do with the shopping cart? I'm not taking it home. Why would I steal a shopping cart? It doesn't even fit in my tiny little Nissan Versa. Why would I don't know. Anyways, I get the idea behind it. Carts just suck. They absolutely lock up at like the most unopportune time, especially when I have like 5 gallons of water or like 10 gallons of milk for no reason. And I look like an absolute buffoon just carrying everything to my car, especially if it's like really far away. Anyways, let's get straight into today's video. All ranting aside, I actually wanted to put together one more custom Marvel Legends action figure video for you guys. I know I haven't done this in quite some time. I've just gone caught up with a lot of like the news cycles, anything that's that's related to action figures, whether it's just ranting or like newer reveals. And so, like I said, I've been kind of neglecting this series, but I want to get back into it. I've often said this is one of my favorite videos, or my favorite type of video to put together. Today, we're going to be looking at the top custom Marvel Legends action figures, and I usually source them from eBay. I will eventually get to social media, but for now, it's just through social media, or eBay. So if you guys are interested in any of these figures, you guys can definitely look them up. Most of these, the customizer actually put a ton of effort into it, and like I said, it's always nice to see the creativity out there in the community. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. And you guys know I always like to start off with some accessories, and I will say I've been running a lot into these Invincible custom head sculpts. Obviously, Invincible has taken off, to astronomically new heights. The comic book series was always very good, but the animated series is just, talk about having a star-studded cast. They're always having some great voice actors, and then the storytelling and the dialogue is just always phenomenal. But yeah, I have been running into a ton of these 1/12 scale Invincible head sculpts. They're customized, they're already painted, they're already put together for you guys. You guys can just port them onto, I guess, a customized Marvel Legend. I'm going to assume, or maybe a Mezco, or one of those imported figures that have slightly better articulation. So if you guys are interested, you guys can pick these up. As I said, pretty affordable because the figures are already painted and put together, and they probably already have a sealant of some kind to keep the paint intact. So all of those things are very important. You may have to, drill a little bit in terms of the hole, because, not all ball joints are the same for every single OM. So just keep that in mind. But the figures, I should say, the head sculpts look absolutely brilliant. So if you guys are interested, you guys can pick those up now. But getting into the actual custom figures, I did run into this custom Ultimate Wolverine, and this is actually pretty smart because we do have like 1,000 different versions of Wolverine. I've seen them on clearance for as low as like $7 to $8. So if somebody decides to customize one of those, I don't think it's going to break the bank, right? I mean, it's a little bit different than other characters where you have to use body molds that are, pretty expensive, or the original action figure that you're, repurposing was, pretty expensive or closer to retail. Here, you could probably find a Wolverine on clearance and do this yourself. But if you're not interested in that, this is a phenomenally put together video, great paintwork all around. And I will say, I believe I saw that head sculpt being sold or shopped around by itself. So if you're interested in doing like the whole body yourself, painting it, doing the little the little paint, or the little hair paint on the arms, all of that, you can do that, and then just buy the head sculpt for, I think it was like $30. So it's not really too bad if you want to put the legwork in yourself. But if you're already interested in just having a figure that is, primed and ready to be displayed, this is the perfect figure for you. Next up, I did run into this custom Kitty Pryde action figure, and I will say I'm not too familiar with all of the appearances for Kitty Pryde, but that head sculpt, I don't know. I don't remember her face looking like that, at least, with this particular outfit, but I could be wrong. I haven't read a lot of comic books recently featuring the X-Men or Kitty Pryde for that matter, but I do like the attention to detail here. The figure has a lot to look at. I love the outfit. I love the design. You even have, I believe, the translucent, or they appear to be translucent, blue and white legs. I mean, just an overall really well put together, really well designed custom action figure. This is perfect if you're looking for deep cuts into the X-Men universe. You're looking at roughly about $150, which is kind of a steep price, but this is a really deep cut. I don't remember, maybe I do remember, but I don't actually recall at the moment. but I don't remember actually seeing this exact version of Kitty Pryde ever from Hasbro. They might have done it in the past, but I'm not sure. But this seems like a really deep cut. I don't feel like they're gonna, anytime soon, jump back around and give us this particular rendition of Kitty. And then going into potentially my favorite custom figure on today's list, it has to be this Werewolf by Night custom Marvel Legends action figure. Now, I'm not sure if we ever got a Werewolf action figure from Marvel, or at least up to this point from Hasbro. However, this looks really well done. The articulation is there, the sculpt is really nicely done, and I will say it was readily affordable, at least, compared to other customs, or usually what customs go for, because most of them are well over $100. And this one seemed to be like deluxe size for roughly about like 160. As I said, the listing probably ended. Maybe it sold. I'm not 100% sure. I might circle back and check that out at a later video, but it's really cool. This customizer is definitely keeping this figure relatively affordable compared to other customs. I have seen some of them go for as high as like $200, and obviously they're maybe a little bit more intricate, a little bit more paint sculpt, or more paint app, and more intricate sculpt and things of that nature. But still, 160 for a big hefty figure like this, definitely a very affordable price point. And I love that head sculpt, although I will say I think it veers closer to his appearances in the comic book. So if you're interested in a comic book accurate werewolf, this one will definitely fit in, whereas then I don't necessarily think he looks too much to his appearance in the MCU, but it's really up to you. It's just a really good looking figure, and as I mentioned, very affordable for sure. They also have this Isaiah Bradley Captain America custom Marvel Legends action figure available, which is really cool. I've always said Isaiah Bradley doesn't get any respect, not only in action figure form, but in the comic books. We just recently saw his appearance in the newest Captain America Brave New World film, which, it's really up for debate, but personally, I think it's massively underrated. It's getting an insane amount of hate for absolutely no reason. It's a good, solid entry into the MCU. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. And I think, Isaiah Bradley's obviously a very pivotal character in that film. And I feel, as I said, I think he's gotten a little bit more respect over the last few years. But if you guys are interested, this figure looks very, very cool. I will say just the texturing and the body mold reminds me of like an old school Toy Biz figure. I know that it's not a Toy Biz figure, but I'm just saying it kind of reminds me because the sculpt was just always kind of like bulky and, rounded in certain areas. And that's kind of what it reminds me of. I really like this figure. You're looking at about like 160 if you guys are interested. Great figure, as I said. We don't have enough Isaiah Bradley. Hopefully they start giving us more representations of him in action figure form. I also saw this Age of Apocalypse Jubilee Marvel Legends action figure, and Age of Apocalypse has definitely garnered quite a bit of attention from Hasbro over the past few years. We did get that Age of Apocalypse wave way back in the day, which was the Sugarman Build-A-Figure wave. I believe that entire release was about like 7 figures total with the Build-A-Figure included, and then we did get that new Gambit Age of Apocalypse Marvel Legends action figure that just went up for pre-order maybe like a month or so ago. So they're trying to complete that Age of Apocalypse wave, although I will say I wouldn't hold my breath. So Jubilee, you being able to pick up a Jubilee custom Marvel Legends action figure. I don't remember if they did include a Jubilee with the original wave. I'm going to assume that they didn't. But, you're better off either customizing the figures yourself or, buying some of these custom action figures, because Hasbro tends to stretch these out. We see it a lot with like the X Factor action figures or the X-Force, for example. The X-Force, I think we just got a 2-pack with X-23. And then, if I'm not mistaken, we got a Deadpool like, 30 years ago? Well, it seems like 30 years ago. I know it was maybe closer to like 5-6 years ago, but that team has slowly been coming along. I think we got a Domino, same thing, like 6-7 years ago. So those figures are definitely dated. They're going to need like updates to them. And so you definitely feel like Hasbro takes their time when completing teams. So if you're really impatient, or if you just want a completed Age of Apocalypse display, this is a perfect alternative for you. And as I said with the previous entry, semi-affordable. You know, the last that I was checking on this figure was going for about like 120 to 130. And definitely keep track of this customizer, and if you're interested in this figure, you can always reach out to them and be like, hey, can you make that one figure that you already sold? Sometimes they have extras, or they're willing to go back into production for you if you're going to purchase a custom figure for sure. And I'll be brutally honest with you guys, I'm just going to admit it outright, I'm not familiar with this body mold. It could be a new one, it could be a reuse from an old female character, but I have to say, female characters from any manufacturer are very difficult to come by. So definitely, if you guys are interested, pick it up. We know, McFarlane tends to hesitate a lot with female characters, and Hasbro tends to do something similar. Not to mention, we rarely get any updated female character body molds. So it's, the chances of us getting more female characters in the foreseeable future, especially Jubilee, I think are very slim. But, there's always the opportunity to either customize a figure or purchase something like this yourselves. So there you guys have it. I'm not going to ramble. I'm not going to make this video too long. I just wanted to showcase a few figures, some head sculpts here and there that I ran into while checking out eBay. As I said, I love looking at, custom action figures, custom accessories, things of that nature. And these are just some extra examples that I ran across. So if you guys are interested in checking these out, definitely show these customizers some love. And as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in, for supporting the channel, for, leaving your comments, subscribing, hitting the like button, all that good stuff. It always helps out the channel immensely. So thank you guys so much. As always, stay safe out there. If you guys enjoy this type of rambling content, make sure to stay tuned. We do this pretty consistently. I'm trying to do it on a daily basis. I don't know if I'm eventually just gonna like burn out and crash, but I'm trying. So hopefully, like I said, if you guys enjoy this type of content, stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the hobby. Most important part of all this. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.